Hey guys, it's Pixelade here and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So this video is going to differ from the usual content that I upload here. We don't have any game patches or updates. I really just want to spend some time and have a conversation surrounding the recent EA buyout, and I know you're probably so tired of hearing people talk about this, and I have made several videos covering both the rumor of the sale and the official news that the sale has been confirmed. But what's come after all of that news has been one of the most disappointing moments I've seen within the Sims community. Some folks are angry about the situation, and there are others brushing it off as if it means nothing or has no implications. But there are a lot of us left who are just generally confused about what this actually means for the Sims. Now, before we go any further, I am not here to shame anyone, and I'm not trying to start drama. I'm not going to be dropping any names. I really just want to sit down and have an honest discussion about what's happening with this whole situation and why it matters, and where I personally stand after having some time to really think it through, because that is what I really have needed. It just didn't really feel real at first, and I really needed time to process it all. So first, before anything, I just want to cover the basic information, the fundamentals of what we already know in regards to this situation. EA confirmed it is being bought out in a $55 billion all-cash deal. The investors behind it are Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners, which is run by Jared Kushner. Now, when this deal does close, which as of this time it officially hasn't, I believe that's going to be sometime next year, there will be no shareholders to answer to. A handful of wealthy investors will have complete control of the company, and that includes the entire Sims franchise. EA has also taken on $20 billion in debt through JP Morgan Chase to make it happen, and that's going to create major pressure to recover those costs quickly. So who's actually behind this deal? Well, the Public Investment Fund isn't just another investor looking for profit. They are part of the Saudi government, overseen by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. As I've previously covered, Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have reported that the fund has been tied to forced evictions, arrests of activists, and the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. They've also documented the persecution and execution of LGBTQ people. Now, when folks say things like, it's just business, or this doesn't affect us, that's exactly what the fund counts on. The more people normalize it, the easier it becomes for them to buy influence in entertainment and reshape their image. And that is what's really happening here. They're using gaming to soften their global reputation. And then we have EA itself. This company already has a reputation for greed, as we have seen for God knows how many decades. Bad leadership, exploiting players in some of their titles, loot boxes, overpriced DLC, and endless Sims 4 kits. I could go on and on and on. The Sims 4 alone has become one of the most monetized games in history. And yes, it is technically free right now, but by the time you own all of the content, you're spending well over $1,000 US. And despite all that, major bugs remain unfixed and nothing changes because the system keeps working for them. And it doesn't help that you have players continuing to buy the packs and DLC, which just fuel this endless cycle. Now, layer 20 billion in debt on top of that, and a new group of investors who only care about profit. You can only guess where that leads. Faster releases, cheaper production, fewer risks, and even less creativity. Absolutely everything ends up centered on bringing in more money, and that's exactly how these kinds of takeovers go. Now, when I see folks online downplaying it, saying things like nothing's really changing, I just don't understand. Yes, maybe not today, or maybe maybe not next month, but these kinds of shifts always ripple through eventually. We then begin to lose creative voices, developers feel pressured to deliver faster, real ideas are just replaced by trends, and once you factor in the ethics of these investors, it really just stops feeling like a normal business move and starts feeling wrong on just a much deeper dystopian level. But there really isn't gray area anymore here with this. We know exactly who's involved and what their track record is, and there is a ton of documentation out there that covers all of this. But the question is, what do we do with that information? Now, a phrase that keeps popping up, and I have been seeing this so much online as of late, no ethical consumption under capitalism. And I get it, I understand where it comes from, but it is being used in a way that excuses absolutely everything here. The point was never that nothing matters, it was that we should recognize how flawed systems work and still try to make better choices where we can. Owning The Sims already isn't the issue here, you've obviously already paid for it, but continuing to spend money on EA now, knowing who owns them, or I guess who will own them, that is a decision. And generally speaking, buying entertainment is optional. And if it is optional, we have to take responsibility for what we're funding. The Sims community has always been about inclusion and creativity. I mean, look at what Maxis and the Sims team has built over the last decade with The Sims 4, setting all of the bugs aside. It is one of the most diverse games on the market. We've honestly never really seen a game that lets us escape the harshness of reality and express ourselves freely in the ways that we can in The Sims 4. And that's always what has made this game special, but that passion cannot stop at the screen. If we care about seeing those things in our Sims games, then we should care about seeing them in real life too. Otherwise, the message starts to lose meaning. What's really been hard to watch lately is how many LGBTQ creators, people I've looked up to and respected, have started to minimize or dismiss what this buyout means. I'm not angry about it, I'm just disappointed, extremely disappointed. I get why it happens. It's hard when your whole platform and income depend on one game, but it's just really painful seeing people defend a deal tied to a government that punishes queerness. It really makes me wonder if we're losing sight of what this community stands for. I'm definitely not expecting anyone to be perfect. I know I'm not. I just think honesty matters here. You can't talk about pride and equality in a game and then ignore the suffering of real people who are punished for those same identities. It's just so tone deaf and disconnected, and it really needs to be talked about. But in regards to this whole situation in general, I'm not telling anyone to feel guilty for enjoying what they already have, but I definitely think brushing this off or staying silent really just helps no one. It's okay to admit that this feels uncomfortable, and creators especially have a role to play here. I understand the fear of losing income, I understand worrying about your audience, but influence carries a lot of weight. What we say or don't say changes how people view the whole situation. If this community really stands for inclusion and accountability, then it has to show up when it's inconvenient too. You don't have to quit The Sims to acknowledge what's happening. Even just saying, I'm aware of this and I'm still processing everything and trying to figure out how I feel goes a long way. Now, I want to address where I stand here. I'm not a part of EA's creator network and haven't been for years. I am definitely done with purchasing new packs and content for this game. That includes the recently released Autumn Apparel kit, which that coming out in the midst of all this was just terrible timing. And obviously I still cover Sims news because it is my full-time job, and I also just really love video creation and video editing and all of that stuff. But the last thing that I want to do, especially since the confirmation of this sale, is promote EA or their packs. But within my content, I will still of course be keeping an eye on them and being upfront about what I see and sharing news and details with you all. Now, I also want to address the sponsorship that I have with Instant Gaming. To be completely transparent, it keeps the channel running. They aren't personally connected to EA, and I still use them for other titles, but after thinking through everything that has come out, I have personally decided to leave The Sims and EA content out of those segments from here going forward. It just doesn't feel right to me. It just feels really, really icky if I'm making a video talking about the state of the game, or if I'm making a video talking about the buyout and then I slot in a section promoting Sims packs and telling you that you could save money on them. I hate that, and it makes me feel so gross, and I can take accountability and admit that I probably should have done that sooner. But at the same time, I don't feel like cutting that partnership with Instant Gaming is the right move either, because it isn't directly supporting EA. Like I mentioned, they have so many other titles on there, and I'm very happy to promote that service because I love it and use it myself all the time. Now, I said I wasn't going to name drop, but I am right here really quickly with Fantasia. That is my best friend, and I love her content. She's an amazing content creator, and she has recently voiced on her channel that she doesn't want her viewers to use her EA creator code anymore because of that direct EA support. And I just want to applaud her and say, I am so proud of you. Like, that is a big move, also because I know you personally, and also because I know that this is your job as well, and this is your income and livelihood. And that's a bold move, but I have to say that it is the right move. Now, I don't want to put pressure on creators to make that decision, but I think for those that have, it's worth applauding. But looking ahead, I'm really worried about what's next for The Sims. We have Project Renee being developed under new ownership, as I'm sure that likely won't release before the sale goes through sometime next year. And it's really hard to imagine that things won't change with that. EA is already leaning into automation and AI, and these investors want fast returns. Going back to that debt that we talked about earlier, they have to make that money back somehow. And how are they going to do it? They're going to cut corners. There's going to be less creativity, definitely more algorithms deciding what sells. And why? Well, it's faster and cheaper. I think that the next generation of The Sims could easily become one of the most commercialized ones we've ever seen. If you thought things were bad with microtransactions before, it is about to get a whole lot worse. That treadmill is still moving, but we're turning that thing up to 11. And with all of these things likely happening in the very near future, it becomes obvious that efficiency is the main goal. And when that is the goal, we lose sight of creativity. I'm sure there are going to be budget cuts and layoffs, and developers that remain will probably burn out. I had an inkling that players would lose interest after this sale, but after we've had some time to sit with it, I think that has become very apparent by what we've seen online. And when all is said and done, what we have left might still look like The Sims, but it just won't feel like it. So the big question that a lot of us are asking from this point is, where do we go from here? What can we do? If you already own The Sims, enjoy it. No one is saying that you can't, but maybe skip the next pack, or skip all of the future packs or content and try supporting something new instead. We have Paralives on the way, and I don't want to put pressure on that development team, and I'm sure all of this news with the EA buyout is pressuring them in some capacity, but that title is being made by a smaller team of developers who care about transparency and creativity and also inclusion, and they absolutely deserve the spotlight right now. So if I have to promote something, it's Paralives for sure. I'm really just still so frustrated with this whole thing, and honestly just really frustrated at EA. But I mean, are we shocked? It's very obvious EA has never really cared about marginalized communities and real world issues, but I mean, at the end of the day, at least we still do. Players are definitely paying attention now, and people are starting to have real conversations, and I think that is a great sign of progress. Let me know in the comments, are you still supporting EA after all of this? Has this changed how you see The Sims, or are you still processing all of this like I am? Either way, I want to hear from you. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Take care and happy life simming.